The reason why I fight back is because it was a kind of a development in my life. As a child, I was abused in many ways, so I became what people call a coward at school, and I was afraid, and I had a lot of fears and worries about getting hurt and losing teeth or going blind in a fight and things like that. And I remember at a school, I was attacked by this guy who was heaps bigger than me. It was intermediate school, and he was heaps bigger than me, and probably twice my weight at least. And he was going to give me a hiding there and hurt him and two others. And the two grabbed my arms, and I thought, oh my gosh. And he scared me. He scared me a lot. And because he scared me, because he was so big and so huge, I fought back. And the two guys grabbed my arms, and I pulled on one arm till he grabbed tighter. And I pulled on the other arm till he grabbed tighter. And then when the guy came to attack me, I used them two holding me to lift both my legs up and kick him in the solar plexus, and he went down on the ground. And he was winded, and he kept, and then I wrenched my arm out of one of the arms and out of the other one and took off. And it was exciting, it was thrilling, it was terrifying at the same time, because I knew I was going to try and get me later. So the thing here about defending yourself, it occurred to me another time that if someone's going to give you hiding, at least get a punch in. I mean, if it's a guaranteed fact that this person is standing right there in front of you and says, I'm going to hit you, and it's going to really hurt, get a punch in. At least do something that'll help you know that you did something to defend yourself or to defend other people. It's kind of like you get the mother who won't, she's a timid little wee thing, and she won't fight anyone when someone goes to attack a child. She fights it. I remember having a small dog as a teenager and going down to Glencoe Park here in Tagara. And I was jogging with my dog, and this big dog came to attack my dog, and I just jumped between the big dog and my dog, and I was going to, beat the heck out of this big dog. It could have seriously hurt me, but that didn't even bother me. And I kicked it and bolted it a few times, and it took off. I was so angry, how dare he try to hurt my dog, my little dog. And you can get that out of you when you're protecting your children, when you're protecting someone who needs protecting, and you just feel, I've got to do something, so you do. And there was the movie The Big Trees, and that was the one where, I think it's Michael Douglas, he's in this environment, forest area with religious people, and the religious people are all meek and all humble and all absolutely useless. They wouldn't fight for their land, they wouldn't fight for their trees, they wouldn't fight for anything, they were hopeless. And he had to inspire them to fight back. I remember at church, when I went to this fundamental church, and we shook hands, everyone shook hands, and we shook hands. And it was like, no offense to gay people, but it was like shaking hands with a bunch of gays. Their hands were all limp, and they were all really soft handshakes, and I was like, what the heck? And some of the women's handshakes were stronger than the men's, and I thought, what's going on here? These guys, when you work in a work site, you shake hands, you have a firm handshake, and I couldn't understand what the heck was going on. And so I shook the guy's hand, and there were the hands, and I was like, and then, so I made a vow to myself that I would shake each one's hand firmly every single time, every single church service. It was kind of a ritual thing. You shook every single person's hand. And so I thought, yep, I'll do it as firm and hard as I can, so I did. And in the end, everyone was shaking their handshakes. I was just horrified that they were shaking like women, you know, just know. And it occurred to me that in the Christian churches and that, they teach that you can be so meek, you don't fight, you don't defend, you expect God to defend you while someone's raping your wife. It's just ridiculous. You have to physical. It's a physical world. You have to do physical. You have to take physical actions to improve a situation, to make a situation better. And if someone puts himself in front of you, and you have no choice but to defend yourself physically, then you do. You can rely on God, of course. I do all the time. But the point is I like to keep myself reasonably fit so that I can, or at least I have a good chance of defending myself, defending my children, defending animals, defending whoever, whatever. And sometimes it has to be done. So I fight back physically for that reason. I fight back mentally or verbally in situations that you get people who are not agreeing with you, or can't figure out how to explain it. Liberal people drive me crazy because it's kind of like those things they keep putting on YouTube where they interview liberal Americans and liberal English, and or they ask some simple questions and that, and they have no idea. You know, they haven't looked into the real issues. Like you say, why do you vote Hillary? Why are you going to vote Hillary Clinton? Well, because she's a wonderful woman for women. I remember being at Waikato Hospital with a female friend of mine who was having an operation, and I said to and Jenny Shipley in New Zealand became the first New Zealand Prime Minister when she ousted Jim Bolger, and Jenny the women were talking in the hospital beds, and they said, it's just wonderful that she's in power. And I thought, oh, they must know about her policies. The Nationals policy, National Party, the Conservative policies. And one woman said, yeah, as long as one said, oh, what do you know about it? He says, I don't care. It's just as long as a woman's in power. And it was like, you know, it's that kind of thinking that makes us, when you try to debate with a person with that kind of thinking, like a person says, abortion is all right, so you explain to them about the baby being alive and the heartbeat and all the logical scientific stuff, and they'll say, no, the science says you can kill them at birth. It's like, you can't get through. So sometimes you will find you're in a position where you have to defend someone against people with minds like that, and you might have to physically smash them in the face, or you might have to pack up and leave, or you might have to argue with them and say, no, I don't agree with that. And I have a rule when I go to people's places that I do not smoke in their house. I do not drink in their house if they don't smoke. When I used to smoke and when I used to drink, and I wouldn't swear in the house, even though I swore and used bad language. But one day I was at a friend's house, and the wife was going on how abortion, we were at the dinner table, and she was going on how abortion was fine. And I was like sitting at the table thinking, now what do I do here? I don't support abortion, and I don't want to offend people, and I'm in their home. What should I do? And I finally looked at her and I just said, abortion's evil. It's the killing and slaughtering of a baby. And you've got to be careful when you say that to a woman in particular, because she might have had an abortion and she's only defending what she did. But if she'd just keep her big mouth shut, it wouldn't have come up in the conversation. And so I ended up having quite a debate with her over it. Not a big one, but enough to piss her off and get her angry. And hopefully enough to make her question her thoughts. on that subject, so she wouldn't encourage her two daughters to have an abortion. But so that was the point behind the discussion, and the thought was, if you have a strong enough view that you really believe in, and you need or feel the need to get it across, you should do it. You should fight for what you believe in. And that I've always had a belief in honour, righteousness, meaning in the sense that you fight for what is right, doing the right thing, defending people, defending the underdog, and helping younger people get ahead in life. And that's what a lot of my website's about. So I didn't have that kind of spiritual, strong, honest background from my parents. I just had it. I don't know how come. And so I found that there were many occasions where I had to fight for something I believed in groups of people where they didn't believe in what I believed in, but they'd also not looked at the facts. And the big war today is basically liberalism in conservative groups and in churches and in liberal groups. It's seeped right over, and there's a grey area. And like, we had a prime minister here who was a conservative, and she said she voted for full-term abortion. And it was like, she's a conservative. Conservatives don't support abortion, but in New Zealand, they do. Well, some do anyway. So you've got the situation where liberalism's taking over. And what I'm getting from modern liberalism, I'm not talking about 50 years ago, what liberalism was like. I'm talking about today. It's different. And it's if they think childishly, and they discuss childishly, and they believe in laws that are foolish, what's bad for us and the like, then trying to explain it to them is impossible. And same with conservatism, who support, you'll find they'll often put the price of the lower the age for drinking, or in New Zealand, they tried to get a synthetic drug legal, and it was to make money. They're so conservative, are very into business and making money, even at a cost to the people. And that's why I don't believe in either the liberal side or the conservative side. But the liberal side is now in the churches, where you've got churches who support feminism, who support full-term abortion, who support things that there is no way God would ever support. And it's just totally non-godly, yet the liberal type people have no clue. And it's awkward. So yeah, so you fight back because there's a reason to fight back, because you don't believe in what they believe in. But even if it's only you in the room, and they're all standing there with guns, and they say, if you don't believe what I believe, and they're going to shoot you or chop you up with swords or something, you still stand your ground. But I do like what these two guys, the Baptists, I can't remember what their names are. There's a writer's website on them. It's named after them. It's a publisher for religious books. And those two are very crafty. You had the guy with John Calvin. John Calvin said, he was holding flames in his hand, the torch thing, the old time stick with a flame at the end. And the guy was tied to a stake with dried wood at his feet, and Calvin looked at him and he said, do you believe in the Holy Ghost and the Trinity? And the guy said no. So he set him alight and burned him to death, alive, which is utterly evil. And John Calvin's supposed to be a great Christian. But these other two guys, Huey and Smith, I think, something like that, they were called as Baptists, and they were Anabaptists, I think, and Baptists, and they were they were caught by, I think, Henry VIII slot, something like that. And they said, do you believe in the Baptists? And they said, oh, no, 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 no. And then when they were left alone, they went to a different country and started a huge Baptist group. So sometimes you have to be careful, and you can do more. And by doing that, they did far more damage by just telling that little lie. So you can do that sort of thing too. But fighting back. So what they did was they removed themselves from a situation that was hopeless. I mean, they were going to die. And if they told the truth, they were going to die. So they changed the situation by lying and removing themselves safely from the situation. And then from the safe, secure situation, they attacked and they won. So it was quite, I remember I've always been very impressed by what they did. And the poor guy who John Calvin burnt at the stake should have said, agreed with Calvin. And it's been a huge mark on bad mark on Calvin's name ever since for having done that to this poor guy. I mean, while the person's alive, you can convince him to learn to believe in the Holy Trinity. You don't burn him at the stake. You don't burn the poor guy alive. And, you know, so what kind of mental thinking was going on in the so-called great Christian man's mind? And he was the inventor of Calvinism. So, fighting back. Oh, the Apache had a view where you went in and you fought the enemy when it was to your advantage. Soon as you were starting to lose the battle in a bad way, you pulled out. Then you regathered your troops and went back when you had the advantage in again, and then you went and fought again. That was how the Apache fought. And that was why when the English went to America and they attacked the Native Americans, it took, even though they had muskets and guns and all that, and cannons and that, it took the Americans over 10 years to defeat the Indians. And the reason of the English, the reason was because the American Indians are some of the most efficient horse people, and they were very good at warfare, even though they had spears, bows and arrows and stuff like that. And then once they learned guns, they were very good with those. Fighting back, and they haven't lost that war, because that war's still going today. Recently, there's been a new attitude to what really happened to the Native Americans and they were abused over the last 20 years. So it's very good. You fight back because there is a need to fight back. You fight back and you don't worry about the risk to yourself. You can, yes. I've been in situations where I've stood there, there's 5 guys in front of me, and one of them's threatening me. I've had guys heaps bigger than me for standing there threatening me. And I just stand my ground. And nothing's come from it yet. And it could, and with all the different martial arts and stuff I'm learning, I can defend myself. The thing here is that you should always keep yourself physically fit as best as you can. Always try to do some form of fitness like cycling, walking, running, press-ups, whatever. And weights or whatever. Just keep doing something. And especially with this COVID thing going around, it's about respiratory. So keep doing stuff that keeps your stamina up. Another thing is stand by what you believe in. Don't back down. Don't not fight. I fight because there's a need in the world to change the world at this moment, to make the world a better place. We cannot have a Garden of Eden if we're destroying our own minds, our children's minds, if we're destroying the world, if we're destroying the planet, if we're destroying the environment, there's no gain. So the world at this time needs voices out there defending what's right, changing the world, making the world a better place. A lot of us, like probably me, will die, and it'll happen after. Or maybe God's got someone out there who will work for me, and the two of us will fight the world, or we'll start a group or something like that. Things take time, and they form, and they get put together at the right time, and then great things happen. History is all full of this. But if we sit down, we become a conformist, we do nothing, we defend no one, we protect no one, we just sit on a couch and get entertained every night, we're hopeless, we're useless, and we've hid our light under a bushel and not stood out in the world and made a difference. We need to get out there, and we need to fight and defend what needs fighting and defending, especially children. They're the new generation. Their minds need to be clear. Their souls need to be safe and protected, and they shouldn't be abused, because it affects them as adults in the future. It just makes the world a worse place. So if you're in, and you will be, at various times in your life, in situations where you can make a difference, make that difference. Even if you're in a room and you argue with everyone in there, there'll be someone there thinking, you know, that makes sense. They might not say it out loud, but in 10 years' time, they may be a major force for good. So stand up for what you think is right. You have a voice. You have a life. You have a past. There are criminals in your life. There are good people in your life. Stand up for the good people. Deal with the others. Get justice done. Fight for what is right and what is important. That's why I fight. And that's why I stand up for God as best as I can. God bless you. Have a good day.